Hello there, welcome back to my channel if you're returning, or welcome for the first time if you're new here. Today I'm just going to be sharing the books that I've been reading so far throughout lockdown. There's quite a range of books here. We've got 11 books in total to share today, which is not as many as I'd hoped I would have read by this point in the game, but that's okay. We're giving ourselves grace for whatever it is we feel like doing at the moment. Yeah, I've got some childhood classics that have made a bit of a comeback, some thought-provoking spiritual books, yeah, all sorts. So, let's not beat about the bush, let's get on with it. Yeah. Woohoo. I've been recording the books that I've been reading in my bullet journal so far, so this is what my page looks like, if you can see that. I don't really use my bullet journal for that much, but this is the kind of thing I like putting in there. So the first book I read throughout quarantine so far was The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart by Holly Ringland. Now that I read on my phone. I have the app for my library back home where you can borrow books from the library but digitally, which is very useful, particularly at the moment when obviously you can't go to libraries. So I read that on there. It was not what I was expecting it to be. I don't really think I read the description for that book, but it was rather depressing. Yeah, it was an interesting book. I liked it. It was slightly darker than I was expecting, as I said, but quite an interesting book. It was set in Australia as well, which was quite fun. Yeah. So that was the first book I've read so far during lockdown, quarantine life. The second book I finally got round to reading was Greater Things by Paul Harcourt and Ralph Turner. Well, they edited it, there's a lot of different authors in there. Foreword by Archbishop Justin Welby. So Greater Things is about the history of new wine, and as I've been to new wine, as I mentioned in some other videos, majority of the years of my life, and I'm currently doing the new wine discipleship year. I picked this up at the leadership conference in Harrogate at the beginning of March and gave that a read, which was fun. I knew a lot of it already, but it was nice to kind of have it all in one place. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, I don't really know what I'm going to say about these books other than just sharing with you what I've read, but who knows what this video is even going to be. So that's that one, second book. The third book was If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat by John Ortberg. So we had read a book by John Ortberg for DY in the first term, and when I was at home I found this on the shelf in the spare bedroom and was like, what the hell, let's give it a read. And it was very good actually. Oh, wait a moment, I'll be back. I made notes about this book because it was so good and there were things that I wanted to remember from it. It was, I would recommend this book. It was good. So one of the things I really liked that he said in this book is about, it's about going deeper in faith and stuff. And one of the things I really liked that he said was about your attitude toward your gifts, and either this gift is so valuable it can't be risked versus this gift is so valuable it must be risked, which I found quite challenging. Living in the knowledge that I will be asked what I've done with what I've been given, that's definitely a challenge for me. Oh, and I arrived, some assembly required. I'm not the, unfortunately, And maybe surprisingly to some of you, this is not the full thing. There's still some more assembly to be done. Yeah, and also that you can't just try to have more faith. You have to get to know God better, because he's faithful. So the more you know him and the more you know that he's faithful, the more you'll trust him, which was helpful. Oh, and also I loved, he tells a story about this woman who wanted to be buried with a fork in her hand. And when people asked why she wanted to be buried with a fork in her hand, because she believed that the best is yet to come. And so, you know, when you finished your meal and you're waiting for dessert and you keep your spoon or your fork, it's because the best is yet to come, which I really liked that. So that was John Ortberg, Water Break. And then the next book, wow, this is probably the most important book I'm going to speak about today. So I follow on YouTube This Gathered Nest. I've been following for a number of years now. A lovely lady called Braniff, and she has been writing a book for the last few years, and it finally came out a few weeks ago, and I was actually lucky enough to read it before it was published. I was on the book launch team, and so we actually got the book before it was released, and just today, literally like 20 minutes ago, it finally came in the physical version, and so now I'm actually going to read it again. But yeah, so I read it a few weeks ago now, and so it's called Love Without Borders. It's by Braniff, and how bold faith opens the door to embracing the unexpected. I love their family, I love their channel, and it was a really good book, and I'm really excited to read it again. Some of the things that I wrote notes because, again, it was an awesome book. But some of the things that I really love that she said: he really doesn't care if his call fits into your own life plans or follows the current cultural norms. Talking about God's plan for your life. Oh yeah, wow, amazing. And I think I want the clarity from God to know what is coming, how it will all turn out. But what I really need is to trust him more. Wow, so profound. Yeah, she's amazing. I'll link to her channel in the description box below, and the book. I'll link to all of these books if I can find them. Yeah, but 10 out of 10 would recommend Love Without Borders, Braniff. Check it out. So that's first 4. And then, okay, so the next books that I'll mention was a little throwback to childhood. I had a craving, I would call it, to revisit some childhood fiction. So I reread Divergent, Insurgent and Allegiant by Veronica Roth. Had really forgotten quite a lot of it. I don't know, I remember quite a lot of it, but it was really good. I enjoyed rereading them. It was a good time, and just something kind of easy to digest when you've already read a book. Can't really handle much heaviness at the moment in terms of fiction, so that was fun. And then the next book I read was Sacred Pathways by Gary Thomas, which I won't talk about much right now because I made a whole video about this book, so I will link that up here if you want to check that out. But yeah, it's about how you connect with God, and again was a brilliant book. I highly recommend this. Highly recommend. Was very helpful, and I'm sure I will read it again in the years to come, and when I'm allowed out I will offer it to people because it was a very good book. Very, very good book. Okay, not many books left, you'll be happy to know. Yeah, so the next book I started quite a while ago, but it was pretty heavy going and it's taken me a while, and it's not even that big, but I'll explain. So it was Women and Worship at Corinth by Lucy Peppiatt, and it's about Paul's rhetorical arguments in 1 Corinthians, and it was pretty heavy going. It's quite an academic book. It's got some Greek in there, which is the book that I mentioned because I'm learning Greek. I actually knew some of the words in here in Greek, and I was like, wow, I know Greek, which is crazy. Sorry, pardon me, excuse me. But yeah, about some of the tricky passages to do with women and worship in 1 Corinthians, and it was enlightening. It was very interesting, and makes me excited to do my degree. Yes, it was good. It was very good. But heavy going, as I said. It's probably taken me a good few months to read, because I can only read a chapter at a time and you really have to be in the mood. But yeah, Women in Worship at Corinth by Lucy Peppiatt. Okay, and then the next book I read, I don't have physically, but was Eragon by Christopher Paolini, which again was another reread from my childhood. Back home we have the other 3 books in the series, Eldest Brasinger and Inheritance, which I will be reading, whether in a physical copy or not, who knows, because who knows if I'll be able to go home anytime soon. But I read it again on the library app, and really I have forgotten it. I mean, that series was a staple from my childhood. I think I read it first in year 6, and then I definitely read them all again at least once, if not twice. But it's been a good few years since I've read them, and it was actually on my list of things I wanted to do in my gap year, and I'm finally getting around to doing it, which I'm very happy about. But yes, I've got the other 3 to read in that series, which I'm looking forward to. The final book I've read thus far throughout these last 2 months, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Reni Eddo-Lodge. Great book. Great book. Really helpful to have a British perspective on race. I feel like a lot of the kind of what we see, what we hear is very American centric. So it was really helpful to actually have a British perspective on racism, and was very challenging, and has opened my eyes and made me think more about things, which is so helpful. And actually it reminded me of another book which I've just bought and will be reading very soon, about the Black experience in white majority churches, which is We Need to Talk About Race by Ben Lindsay. And yeah, it's definitely kind of opened a new thing that I need to really explore and read more about, and yeah, it's made me think, and I'm really grateful for that. It was recommended to me by a good friend. Would recommend. Yeah, there you go. They are the 11 books I have read thus far in quarantine. I'm currently reading a banger of a book, which I'm sure I will share in another video. In fact, I might be making a whole video kind of inspired by that book. So watch out for that. I am continuing to read, so who knows, if you enjoyed this video, let me know, and I'll make another one in a few months' time when I've read some more books. Bit random, bit all over the place, bit rambly, but there you have it. Some books that I've been reading. Yeah, that's it for this week's video. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and comment and subscribe if you feel the urge. And yeah, I'll be here again next Saturday at 11 AM with another video. Cool. Bye.